And today you are here to celebrate this great moment. We, as the college, are very thankful to you, as much as your children are to you, for trusting them with us all these years. Brothers and sisters, children, uncles, aunts, grandparents, they have all been pearls in the necklace of your lives, so to say, and are here to rejoice with you. I want to say to you all, welcome. Today is extra special in the presence of our chief guest, Dr. Mrs. Kiran Bedi, Lt.Governor of Puducherry, who readily and kindly consented to be here for you, dear graduates, as your chief guest. Ladies and gentlemen, please accord a hearty welcome by putting your hands together for our chief guest.
Dr. Niharika Singh, who belonged to the MBBS batch of 2004, was a charming young lady from the Andaman Islands. Extremely hardworking and dedicated, she was among the top 6 rank holders of her batch throughout the entire course. In addition to her academic brilliance, she was a graceful dancer and a talented mimicry artist. She reached out to people when they needed her the most. She was compassionate and supportive to all her patients. She graduated full of potential to become the best possible doctor and caregiver, but was tragically diagnosed with breast cancer. Instead of giving up, she fought bravely and battled through surgery, chemotherapy, and radiation, but succumbed to the illness. Niharika was a true brave heart, and her perseverance is an inspiration to us all. In memory of Niharika, her classmates, the batch of 2004, have instituted a new prize, the Niharika Memorial Medal in Medical Oncology. The prize this year goes to Halil Reba. Dear Madam, the Mrs. Maria Viaculam David Memorial Medal for the Best Outgoing Student is awarded to a member of the graduating batch who has obtained the highest marks throughout their academic career at CMC. The recipient of the medal for the Best Outgoing Student of this year has obtained the following honors. First MBBS, First Certificate of Honor in Anatomy, First Certificate of Honor in Physiology, First Certificate of Honor in Biochemistry. Second MBBS, First Certificate of Honor in Pharmacology, First Certificate of Honor in Pathology, First Certificate of Honor in Microbiology, Second Certificate of Honor in Forensic Medicine, the Microbiology Prize, the Dr. Pramila Sathe Gold Medal in Pathology, Dr. T. Jacob John Prize in Virology, the Research Award for Undergraduate Medical Students, the Anil George Memorial Award for First Rank in Second MBBS. Final MBBS, First Certificate of Honor in Ophthalmology, First Certificate of Honor in ENT, First Certificate of Honor in Community Medicine, the Victor C. Rambo Prize in Ophthalmology, the Dr. Zachariah Thomas Memorial Prize, the Leroy Allen Prize in Community Health, the Dr. Angeline Stephen Prize in Obstetrics and Gynecology, Second Certificate of Honor in General Medicine, Second Certificate of Honor in General Surgery, First Certificate of Honor in Obstetrics and Gynecology, First Certificate of Honor in Pediatrics, First Rank in Final MBBS, the L. N. Veera Sangye Chinnappa Medal in Community Medicine, the Dr. Tushar Chakravarti Award for the Best Outgoing Lady Student, the N. N. Jayasekaran Gold Medal for the Best Clinical Student. Respected Madam, I have the honor to present the recipient of the Mrs. Maria Viaculam David Memorial Medal for the Best Outgoing Student for the year 2016, Harshita Nori.
ladies and gentlemen, it is my privilege to introduce the chief guest for undergraduate convocation 2016, the Honorable Lieutenant Governor of Puducherry, Dr. Mrs. Kiran Bedi. Most in this country would know her as someone who left a blazing trail in the world of law and order as a bold, upright, conscientious police officer, the first woman police officer, IPS, in the country. From that primary role of a police officer in 1975 to her present position as Lieutenant Governor, her life has been an inspiration to many, especially young people sitting in this audience. There is so much to say about Dr. Mrs. Kiran Bedi, but let me summarize her life into 4 phases. First, her studentship years. Hailing from a well-to-do Punjabi business family, she opted to become an academic. She studied her initial years in a Christian school in Amritsar, pursuing her studies through BA in English, Masters in Political Science, to train and become the first IPS officer of the country. She also earned a law degree from Delhi University and a PhD from IIT Delhi in social sciences. Well-read, broad education spanning so many disciplines to make her what she is today. The second phase is her sportswoman years. We could see her thrill when the sports winners came up on stage. She started playing tennis at the age of 9 and pursued it in a way that propelled her into junior national championships, becoming even eligible for entry into Wimbledon Juniors. She went on to win several national championships, a list of which is given in Wikipedia. Her sports years prepared her for a future career that demanded discipline, fitness, and agility. The third phase of her life, which is the longest, was her police years. I did mention that she was the first IPS officer from the National Academy, admirably so, being the only woman in her batch of 80 men. She continued her undisputed leadership into what was at that time a strongly male bastion, the police force. Dr. Kiran Bedi is renowned for her bold leadership in difficult law and order situations, which, over a period of time, earned her the Police President's Medal for gallantry in 1980. She brought in innovation and lateral thinking, innovative approaches like recruiting civilian volunteers in policing, anonymous reporting of crime by citizens, clamping down bootlegging to reduce crime, the beatbox system of public feedback, all earned her a reputation of being a strict, formidable, effective, yet unapproachable police officer. I understand she initiated a paradigm shift in converting the police force from a rough law enforcing group into a more humane, compassionate force. She was known to be tough with errants, whoever they were, the rich and the powerful and the politicians included. This earned her accolades, sure, but it earned her enemies as well. But she withstood opposition and oppression, even sacrificing her own family interests to uphold law and order. There are many more stories that are equally inspiring, but suffice to say tonight that in and through these experiences, a social activist was born. She continued this upward trajectory of her career and became the DCP of North Delhi, Inspector General of IG Prisons. Prison reforms under her leadership in Tihar Jail paved the way for her being awarded, strangely, the Raman Magsaysay Award for 1994 which is for social consciousness. She became then the Director General of the Bureau of Police Research, a position which she held admirably and from where she took retirement in 2007. The fourth phase is as a social activist and administrator, campaigning against drug use, drug abuse, correctional administration, starting the Navjyoti Delhi Police Foundation, India Vision Foundation. Dr. Mrs. Kiran Bedi assumed this new role as a reformer, as a social administrator and activist. Over time, she felt inspired to join the Anna Hazare movement and came to be recognized as much more than a police officer. Her present role as governor shows her leadership in the various initiatives already taken in the few months that she has been in this position in the state of Puducherry. All this apart, she's a writer of several books to her credit. She has been a talk show hostess of a popular TV show called Aap Ki Kacheri. From the inspirational story of her life, a career woman who beat many odds to succeed, who invoked social consciousness in an enforcement regime, who never gave up in her quest for social transformation, Dr. Mrs. Kiran Bedi is an excellent choice for our young graduates today to listen to. Ma'am, I thank you on behalf of Christian Medical College, Vellore, for taking time out to be here today. To you, ladies and gentlemen, I'm honored and privileged to present the Lt. Governor of Puducherry, Dr. Mrs. Kiran Bedi, Chief Guest for UG Convocation 2016. We are keen to have you address us, ma'am. Round of applause.
I'm deeply overwhelmed. I've never had an introduction so organized. It was so surgical. Typical of medical world. Thank you, Dr. Thomas, Dr. Sunil Thomas Chandy. I want to thank the college for inviting me. This is a college we all admired from a distance. I used to hear CMC, Vellore Medical College in the many quiz competitions. And that's the time I used to watch it from a distance. I never knew I had to wait so long to be here today. So therefore, I want to thank the CMC completely for bringing me to a college I admired from a distance, both as a student and then as a professional. I want to thank Dr. Anna B. Pulimud also for inviting me, Dr. Reggie Uman, Dr. Solomon Satish Kumar, Reverend P. Reinhard Pearson for saying the prayer for us. And most of all, I want to thank Ida Scudder for having founded something which is living forever. Here's a woman who did it with one woman, how she went around. I read her story. It was so fascinating and inspiring. So we can begin our gratitude to Ida. Because of Ida that we are here. And I think we should never ever forget, because each of us can be Idas wherever we would be going. India needs an Ida in every village today. So thank you so much for giving me this great opportunity. All along, you were in my mind, thinking, what am I going to share with you? I was searching, and I found my answer sitting here with you. What makes you so outstanding? What makes CMC a very sought-after medical college and so brilliant, which brings doctors back to India, even when they get an opportunity to serve overseas? And here are my findings. And I would urge you to not lose them. You said a pledge, but I think there's a lot before and after the pledge. And if I could give you an analysis, which is proven from my life's experience. Number one, you practice the power of prayer. And I think that is research proven. Since I've been a social scientist, social sciences research. Research after research establishes the power of prayer, whether as a patient or as a doctor, but now as a person. So remember, your pledge doesn't say, I'll continue the prayer, but you can continue the prayer. Even when you graduate from here, don't forget praying. Get up and pray every day. And say, second point which I realized from your analysis so far is the power of gratitude. You also express gratitude in whatever you've done so far. Your third thing, which I find as an amazing strength, cause of strength, is singing together. Those who sing together, eat together, stay together. So when you are back in your rural areas or in your medical colleges, and in your institutions, institute prayers and find an opportunity to pray together. Schools stay together, colleges stay together because they pray together. They eat together. Those of them eat together. I've seen in my career industrial institutions who eat together in common canteens with the CEOs also there, stay together. And they also have music together. They may not pray together, but I've noticed those institutions which pray together, thank together, sing together, stay together, means stay healthy and progressive. These are your strengths. Find a way when you go and work elsewhere. How do you sing with them? And every area culture would be different. There will be a prayer of that area. Ask them to pray. You can begin with that local prayer. It will work as magic. It will be therapeutic by itself. It will reduce the pressure on your medicines because you may be short of medicines in poorer areas, in underserved areas. But the power of prayer will reduce the pressure on the medical dispensation. Fourth, your fourth strength I've noticed so far is your simplicity. You are simple. You're very simple. I think remain simple in your life. It will keep you peaceful. South Indian, basically by nature, by culture, is simpler than many other zones of India. But keep that simplicity. Don't make it complex. My fifth thing which I've noticed so far in my discussions is your 2-year grassroots work. 2-year grassroots work in rural areas is the biggest gift you're getting in your career. You may want to hang on to it, or you may not. But it will change your life. It will alter your life. It will make your life. It will make you a great human being. That will give you all these things. So when you go into the rural areas and use the power of the prayer, bring in a sense of gratitude, singing together, simplicity, and the grassroots. Friends, it will be a builder. It will be a character builder. And in this grassroots work, let me add something which is coming from my lifelong experience in administration, is that remember when you are a doctor in that underserved areas particularly, and you might be doctors in underserved areas even in the urban areas as time goes, because India's need for medical care is far less, need is outgrowing the infrastructure. Then for each doctor is going to be crowded. You'll be crowded. You'll be hounded. You'll be tailed because you are needed. I suggest one thing which comes from my experience is that since you will be in a position of power, you'll be in a position of mobilization. Bring NGOs together wherever you are. They're all very spread out. There are volunteers in your areas going to be. There is something missing in our rural areas where people are not brought together. Wherever they are brought together by the commune leadership or the rural leadership, the village prospers. Village is provided for. But where it isn't, where it works in separate boxes, everybody complains against the other and they remain ill-served. I request you, whichever area you go into, find out a resource mapping. Do resource mapping wherever you're posted and see what exists around you. There may be people who are retired. There may be people half trained, half skilled. You never know. And then involve yourself with the community development of that area. So just not be an 8 to 2 dispenser or a long working doctors, doesn't matter. Bring community together in community health. So once you connect the area in community health, friends, you will be serving a larger purpose. You will be rising above your profession from the specialization you've earned or the education you've earned to become community mobilizers. And you will be automatically entering in preventive healthcare. And that, I think, is the biggest gift you can take from CMC to the areas you are. This has been my strength as a police officer. It was never ever the norm, nor was I trained at the police academy to be a social mobilizer. But I realized for myself that how do I meet community needs? Do I go back to the community that I do not have resources? Or do I say I have, but provided we work together? So everywhere I realized, wherever I was short of resources as an administrator, I reached out to the community, brought them together, and made them serve themselves as self-help groups. So friends, try this. Take home this idea. I do not know whether you already are, obviously must be sensitized, because compassion and care is a part of your culture. It's a missionary culture. It's a culture of every missionary institution. And since I belong to a Catholic school upbringing, service to community so naturally ingrained as we grow on. It's so natural, you don't have to be taught. But be community mobilizers wherever you are and strengthen your arms around and bring them together and reach out to the community through larger community groups. And maybe upskill some so that they can serve those people who are around. Try this out. I think it will stand you in very good stead. And that was what will make you stand out as a trained doctor from CMC. So the grassroots is your strength, remember. Another strength which I realized from you is your revenue model of CMC. You have 100% integrity. Integrity is the one which has kept you get best of education and also provide care to the needy, provided and also when whoever could pay pays. And that cross-subsidizes, and you don't are burdened by loans to be paid after your graduation. I think this is most unique in this country, because I'm coming from a union territory where medical is exceedingly expensive, or exposure to the Western world, where the student at the completion of education is now worried along with the parents, how does he or she repay the loan? This is amazing revenue model to be, I think, to be exemplified and copied elsewhere, replicated elsewhere in the country. So I've told you your strengths, which I picked up in these few minutes. They're so writ large. Keep them with you. Don't let them go. And there's one thing very interesting which you said in your graduate's pledge, not to be ministered, but unto. Not to be ministered unto, but to minister. I'd like to come to this point. From your strengths, where do you go? Where do you go is, friends, how do you, number one, each one of you is needed here. You are needed here. So even if you go overseas to educate yourself, remember India is calling you. You are needed here. Go upskill, see the world around, it's very important. Research and get the best, but come back and serve again. India needs you. Your country needs you. The people out in the outlying areas need you. Even in the towns, they need a doctor with a missionary zeal. Not a mercenary, a doctor with mercenary intention, but doctor with a missionary zeal. So you need to replace that mercenary intentions to missionary zeal. So friends, that's where you need it. Number one, remember, Go overseas, learn the skill, be the update, be the best, and bring it back. Come and serve, go back again. But come back. Don't get lost. Don't get lost. India needs you. Second thing which I would say from here would be remaining inspired. How do you remain inspired? The key to every successful leader in life is how does he or she remains charged, inspired. Over a period, monotony sets in our lives because we repeat a thing. Even a machine needs rest. To give it a rest, you oil it, you grease it. Human mind also needs rest. But it must, when it's in a public service of this challenge, it needs to remain inspired. That's the secret. And believe me, friends, it's a daily charge. And I'm going to give you the technique of how do you remain inspired. Again, this is based on research. How do you remain inspired? And I never realized something which I was practicing from day one of my service, that this is actually research-based. Research has followed what I instinctively practiced, but research establishes what will keep you inspired. And that term is called the power of circulation. It's called the power of circulation. The power of circulation means keep yourself in circulation. Now, when you say keep yourself in circulation means, supposing you are at the moment heading for 2 years of village, rural areas or outlying areas. Walk your village. Go out and meet the people. Stay in circulation. It doesn't say come from your home, sit in your office, dispense and go home. No, it says circulate. It's called the power of circulation. And if you're heading a large hospital, walk the hospital. Reach out. And that's what the beginning doctor begins. The doctor begins with the rounds. It's called the power of circulation. Do not become static. If you want to stay inspired, now what would power of circulation give to you? The power of circulation will give you ideas. It will give you first-hand information. It will connect you with people. It will also tell you what can you do better. It will also make you converse. It will also upskill you. It will also establish your bonding. Something which I used to do instinctively as a cop, where in the morning I used to go straight to a police station, talk to my cops every morning to ask them, what's new today? What have you done yesterday? What is new? What's the new challenge today? So it was circulation every day, non-hierarchically. Don't have to be hierarchical. You've talked a lot, Dr. Chandy's talked about my prison work. Prison work would not have been transformed if I hadn't exercised the power of circulation. What did I do? Every morning, walk the prison, reach out to the prisoners, see them myself, establish an eye contact, ask them a basic question. Did you have your breakfast? Was there water to bathe? How was last night? So people would either smile or sulk. And when they would sulk, I will know something was wrong. And I would then explore what went wrong. And obviously I came to know there were no lights that night before. But the prisoners wouldn't complain to me, ma'am, there was no light. I found out the power had broken down and they had no lights and they suffered the summer of that night. Or food wasn't up to date. Every day it was leading me to better solutions. And what was happening? Every day a cleansing happened. So I wasn't dependent on secondary reports. In the power of circulation, I was reaching out to people, I was circulating in the workplace, and I was getting to know what's happened. So remember, power of circulation. What does it do in the end? What does power of circulation finally give you? Friends, it gives you energy. In the end of the day, we are successful if we are energetic, enthusiastic. We are failures when we are discharged, we are not inspired. And that's what we said. We are ministered, but we are not to be ministered, but we are ministered, but we are not ministers ourselves. Remember, if you have to be a minister yourself, you'll have to be self-driven. And self-driven means energy generation on your own every day. Find your own ways of generating energy on your own. Everybody will have their own tools. Somebody would get up early and do yoga. Somebody would get up early and do a prayer. Somebody would get up and do long walks into the nature. They will have the energy. Somebody would just stand up and meditate. Somebody would go to the gymnasium, and somebody would go to play basketball or play tennis, whatever it is. Every one of us have our own sources of energy. Find your own sources of energy. This power of circulation to remain in circulation much beyond your own founder, Ida. Your Ida Scudder, lived long. She was a woman of energy. And that is how we have what we have today. So let us be generators of energy. And in the generation of energy, we will be able to serve better, fully inspired. And energy, remember, is not it's not invisible. It is visible. It is visible physically. When you're good, you look good, that means you're energetic. When you're mentally positive, that means you've got mental energy. And when you are ethical and moral, you've got moral energy. So energy is into three parts: physical, mental, and spiritual. Friends, that is what energy is to be. Without it, you will not be successful as leaders and as doctors, as professionals, as position holders, as mobilizers, as icons. And you are the best the country can offer. You're the best. You have to remain the best with utmost humility, with utmost gratitude, with prayer in your heart that God, thank you so much. Thank you. I'm the chosen few that you chose me to serve and heal. It's like a healer. Last but not the least, let me give you my secret. When I was growing up, I didn't want to be a police officer. I wanted to be a doctor. But since I also loved playing tennis, and tennis was a family game, my father was a very fond tennis player. He would leave his business at the half of the day, tell his father, you make money, I'm going to my tennis court. So the rule was, daddy at the tennis court, mummy at the tennis court, we sisters straight from school at the tennis court. We were all lovers of sports. So friends, what I'm saying is I wanted to be a doctor. But for science, I would have had to stay back for experiments. I would have had to change my subjects. So I chose humanity, which I loved also. I loved English honors. So I chose humanities. I loved political science. I loved these subjects, medicine and European history and Indian history. So I chose humanities. But I became a doctor. I became a doctor, not a medical doctor, not a PhD, but somebody with a compassion in a heart in uniform. That's what a doctor means. A doctor basically is a healer. So I chose to always, whenever I wore my uniform, I knew I was a healer. That's the way I looked at my job. And even now, as a governor in Puducherry, I stand for hours together listening to complaints in an open house. Raj Nivas is an open house. People can walk in and come and meet me anytime without an appointment between 5 and 6. So it's a healing job. So friends, doctor's job is a healer's job. Whether you are passing out from CMC or I passed out from my own university in Chandigarh. If you have compassion in your heart, you're a doctor. But if you're even wearing a white coat, but if you don't have gratitude, prayer, compassion in your heart, sorry, you're not a doctor. So choose to be the best, which you are from CMC. Thank you once again for inviting me.